Hello, you may be wondering, Halloween, what have your thoughts are on that, Vermintide game that came out the other day? And, yeah, so I thought I'd do a quick look video on this. Just to stress this completely, it is really a very, very initial first look at the game. It's my first 3 hours with the game, essentially. It's nothing more. It's not a full in-depth review. It's not fair for the game, because I haven't played enough of it. You can actually see from behind me the footage I recorded earlier in the week. I have played more since then, mind you, but that's really early footage. We're talking like the first 2 hours, basically. We played a couple of missions. I'm just going to chuck it on in the back, so you can get a rough idea of how the game looks, at the very least. So, I didn't know an awful lot about the game, but I was contacted by the PR company that represents the Vermintide developers. And they said, yo, we got this cool game, do you want to have, a couple of keys to try it out? And I said, sure, why not? It sounds interesting. I don't know an awful lot about it, even though they did invite me to the beta. I didn't check it out, I didn't have time. But they said, yeah, we got a couple of keys, try it out, see what you think, make a video on it. And I said, okay, why not? So, I took the keys and jammed it into the game without really knowing an awful lot about it. And I was pleasantly surprised, honestly. Initially, it's a case of, it's Left 4 Dead, but instead of zombies, it's rat monsters in the Warhammer universe. Now, I don't mean that as a slight either. I know a lot of people both like and a lot of people hate Left 4 Dead, but honestly, I jumped in, I was pleasantly surprised. I was in the latter camp. I really didn't like Left 4 Dead. The zombie stuff bores me silly. However, seeing the model again, it's really great. I love the whole 4 people co-op against a horde of mookie things with special super mooks going for an objective. I like that whole system. I think it works really, really well. So, just to sort of frame it up then, you have 5 heroes in all, although only 4 can actually play at once, who are in a city where these rat monsters have taken over. The idea being that you've got different missions representing different parts of the story about you're trying to, I believe, take back the city, or at least protect the city in its sense, get things done, and force back the rat tide, the Vermintide, force them back, and presumably retake the city, and, I don't think they're actually after saving anybody, because I think the Warhammer universe, everybody hates everybody. This is the general gist I've got. But hey, anyway, in terms of actual gameplay, it works really, really well. The gameplay is solid. The combat feels great. You have a light attack, a heavy attack, a ranged attack, and you can throw grenades and stuff when you find them. That's the general gist. Each character does play differently, though differently to the point where it doesn't matter too much. You can pick up whichever character you like and still be familiar with it, though they have their own little sort of nuances, I suppose. Like the elf has a rapid fire bow she can use, the dwarf has a set of pistols he can use, that kind of thing. The weapons play a little bit differently, but the general gist of it is you could pick up any of the 5 characters and know what you're doing, which is nice. So yeah, the idea is you get you and 4 mates. In this case, I might want to add that Hitler isn't our friend. He's just a random that turned up in the video. Yeah, that's not my fault, I promise. We found it very funny because we wanted to record some footage, and of course the first random guy that joins is a guy called Hitler. Go figure. Sorry. Anyway, avoiding Hitler here, you take you and your mates. Not Hitler, he's not his friend. Anyway, you take you and your mostly mates, and you go into the stage, all 4 of you, you stick together, and you defeat these mook rats that come in all hordes, like huge numbers, that are just basically cannon fodder. You zoom your way through that, and specialised rats appear, just like in Left 4 Dead. Instead of specialised zombies, like the tank, the smoker, the blob, the witch, and I'm probably missing a few. You get the idea. Those specialised zombies, in this case, they're rats. So you have the storm vermin, which is a very solid melee rat who wears armour. You have the Gatling rat, who is a rat with a machine gun. You have the poison rat, who's a rat who throws grenades. You get the idea. And eventually you have the rat ogre, which is the tank. It's extremely similar to the point where it's basically the same thing with a different skin in one way, but the different skin makes all the difference in this case. Because you're using melee weapons primarily, it changes the game. You have to really get in there and get your teeth stuck into beheading these countless amounts of rats. When you get kidnapped by the Packmaster rat, you can't suddenly just shoot the guy very easily. You have to just go. You normally have to go there and chop him because it's not as easy to pull out a machine gun and mow them down, or use a grenade as easily. You have to really get stuck in there. Yeah, so all of that is great, and you basically, truthfully, the stages don't matter that you're in. Even the scenery doesn't particularly matter because the actual combat itself and the fighting with the rats, the actual specialised rats, is good enough to hold it on its own, that it doesn't really matter what you're doing. You could be in the sewers, you could be up some scaffolding, you could be even doing an objective collection. Like in one of the stages you have to stay in one central location and collect barrels, as opposed to going through a stage and actually doing loads of stuff that way. it doesn't really matter because the combat and the sort of fun side of that and the teamwork is solid enough that you can do anything. It's really cool. I like that. You can just jump in, do a stage, doesn't matter which one, and do stuff. So, yeah. Thumbs up on the old gameplay there, lads and ladettes. It's really good. You've got a good thing going. The theme is cool. Warhammer looks neat. I don't know enough about it, but it looks cool. City is screwed, but hey, poor blokes. The rats are fun to fight. The rats look good. And, you know, the actual combat with the rats and doing stuff with the team is really good fun. The team members themselves, all the different in-characters, they banter between each other as well. It's a lot of fun. They're really grumpy lot, and they do a lot of snide comments at each other. Really, really cool. Basically a lot of fun to play with your friends. And those are the good points of the game. You know, they are some really solid good points that honestly I can almost 100% recommend the game to pick up as is, but not quite. Because there, of course, with the good points come the bad, and these are almost certainly all likely to be fixed relatively soon. Because, you know, with online patches and stuff, they've had a beta, they know about a lot of these issues, but I gotta go through them anyway, because it wouldn't be fair if I didn't bring up the stuff that really pissed me off. Okay, within 3 hours of the game, these have annoyed me to the point. And the first one is a big one as well. There is a head bob on the game, and those of you who get motion sick would be aware of this. Is the head bob, along with the weapon bob, is bad enough that I don't tend to get motion sick in pretty much anything. And I felt sick to my stomach on the first time I played it that I couldn't finish the first stage. I had to actually take a break and stop and then try it another day a second time, and I got a bit more used to it, I think. Supposedly the developers have said they're aware of the head bob, that a lot of people don't like it and they're going to remove it. I think it's unfortunate that the head bob, along with the FOV, the FOV is a bit weird. It is changeable, but supposedly the best FOV is the one it's default at, which is 65. Now, if you start messing around with the FOV like I did, it kind of makes a fishbowl style effect, and it made me feel even more queasy. Again, I don't even normally have to bring this up as a thing in 3D games. I don't understand. I've played some janky ass 3D games in my time, like DayZ, and that doesn't make me feel sick. But this made me sick to my stomach almost straight away. I'm okay now, and I can play a lot longer sessions and have done. You know, I've played 3-4 missions in a row, but at the same time, it still makes me feel a bit queasy after long sessions, and I really look forward to the developers hopefully removing the option for the head bob there, because I think that's really what's doing me in. Second thing is the performance. Now, I've got a GTX 970 in my machine and a pretty hefty CPU as well. They're all mostly modern. They're all overclocked, and the game doesn't run particularly well. You might have seen in the footage behind me that it's quite choppy at times. That's not helped, of course, by the recording software, in all fairness, but even without it, I've had my frames drop to 24, 23 when tons of rats are on screen. Again, I'm absolutely almost 100% certain that over time they will optimize the game, and it will get better and better. But as it stands for now, it is kind of choppy. It's unfortunate, but that's the nature of it. If you don't like games dropping to reasonably low frames when lots of stuff happening on screen, especially with a really powerful PC, might be something to be aware of. It's buggy. The game is quite buggy. There's lots of clipping of models and stuff. It's nothing that's actually game breaking, except for a couple of times where I've fallen through the world. A little bit irritating. People on the forums have mentioned crashes to desktop, but I can't comment on those since I haven't had any. The game's never crashed for me at all. So it's just that I've fallen through the world once or twice, which is irritating. I've had a pack rat take me round a corner, been saved, only to have all of my health suddenly disappear, fall through the floor, and end up somewhere else in the stage waiting to be rescued. It's really weird and kind of frustrating. Again, I've no doubt they'll probably fix that, but as it stands for now, it's kind of irritating. The rats on the models, they clip out all the time. I mean, it's not a massive issue, but it does break the immersion a bit when, like the other day, I did the party rat video. You got a rat that's doing the Mamba at 5 million miles an hour in the corner, having to twitch fest. It's pretty funny, but it's not really the kind of thing you want to sort of show. I know what the reason is, of course. It seems to be some sort of ragdoll physics getting stuck on everything. But hey, it's kind of weird. And the biggest bear for last, the biggest bugbear, is the loot system. I'm not entirely sure what they've done here. I guess it's intentional to make you try and play all the different characters, but if you're lucky enough to get loot, because some stages seem to not have any extra loot roll options. It's like a rolling system, right? You go through the whole stage, and at the end of the stage, you have an option to roll on what you get. Now, throughout the stage, there are hidden dice to find and hidden tomes to find. If you pick up a tome, you can't have any healing items. The idea is a risk-reward kind of thing, which I really think is cool. I really like that. However, the fact that the loot is random, and some stages don't seem to have these tomes or dice, seems a bit odd. So some stages are better for others than loot. It's weird. I haven't truthfully played enough of it to understand the impact that this may or may not have. It's really weird. I think that's a bit of a mistake though on their part. The loot being completely random is also frustrating. It's annoying to go through a really hard stage and be rewarded with something you can't use for the class you want to play. It would be really cool if you could be like, yo, I'm playing the elf right now, you see I'm playing the elf, can I get loot for the elf please? Or have an option that says, I am the elf but I want loot for other people. World of Warcraft has a system basically where the loot that drops is specialised to the role you're playing. But if you want it, you can tell it you can specialise to another role. It would be really cool to see something like that. Again, that's completely optional. Maybe that's exactly how they wanted it, that it makes you play other characters all the time, which is fair enough. But it's a bit sad that the character I'm trying to progress with, in this case the elf, suddenly doesn't get any loot because I'm getting pistols for the pissing dwarf all the time. I seriously kid you not, I've got a pistol collection. I can hang it up on the wall and impress the neighbours with how many pistols I have right now. And they're all really shiny ones. Very shiny pistols. Green shiny pistols. Blue shiny pistols, but not any sodding bows. Ugh. Anyway, that's it. I'm not going to bore you any longer with my first impressions of Vermintide. It's the general gist of it. It's good. I think it's worth the price as it stands because I believe they're going to improve it further. It's messy right now, though. If you can't put up with the messy or you're going to puke, probably hold off until they fix that. I don't think it's going to be long before they fix it, though. As it stands, I think it's pretty fun. I think it's worth the sort of like £17-18 they're currently charging in various places. I think that's pretty good. You know, I think like Green Man Gaming or Steam, I think it's between like £18 or £22 depending on where you look at it. But yeah, that's pretty good. I will continue to have fun with this, shall I say? Although, of course, you can completely disregard my opinion since I got a key for free. They gave me the key, of course. So in terms of how much it costs, but putting it this way, if I did have to buy it after trying it for three hours, like I have done so far, I would pick it up for the price. I think it's good. There you go. Those are my first impressions of Vermintide. I hope they're useful to somebody at the very least. And yeah, thank you very much for listening. Oh god, that you can't start something without having a guy called Hitler join your group.
Oh,
Oh, there's a guy, a witch hunter called Hitler. Okay, why not? Fine.